The judiciary has been fingered out as the arm of government destabilizing the nation. This is due to the conflicting judgments and biased judgments they give often on political matters. Recently, former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan drew their attention to the fact that the judgment they give in this country regarding political matter may end up blowing up this nation.
This is ridiculous. This is I mean, why is the president watching while the time of Rivers people are being wasted? The time of Governor Fubara to govern the state and deliver dividends of democracy is being wasted. They are making his government ungovernable. That is what they're doing. They're distracting him. This is distraction. I supported Wike. At the beginning, I didn't. Because of this riverine upland dichotomy thing that I had explained. I have nothing against him. He's my younger brother. He calls me auntie. But the truth of the matter is that when it was clear to me that it was better, as far as I was seeing it, for Wike to do a second tenure, equal tenure, for the sake of peace, like Fubara said, he would do anything for peace, and that he had even knelt down, which I'm offended by. But he said it on national TV. But it's okay, because that's as far as he said he's prepared to go for peace. But he said that he's not prepared to give his liver or his kidney. Instead, he will go back to his wife. It's not that he left her, but what it means is that instead, he will leave their governance for them. And I think I agree with him. Because to say that he should go and represent, who are they? They are no longer lawmakers. They can fool themselves. They can deceive themselves. They can say, well, they've been anybody who told them to walk out and do what they did, deceive them. The person who told them, whether it's one person or 10 people, that told them it was okay and that legally we can fix it. It's very clear. You cannot fix this thing legally. It says so. The law is very clear. That if you leave your party on which platform you entered the House of Assembly and you cross over, you've lost your seat. Your seat is vacant. And at the time, the right thing was done by here when he went to court and declared their seat vacant and called on the rec to INEC at that time to conduct election. Now, it was still in this illegal, unconstitutional meeting or signing of those two pieces of paper that they made the governor to sign, that he was also told that he should withdraw that case. And that case was withdrawn. But they now did not withdraw their own case. So who is now disobeying? As a matter of fact, who is disobeying the president as far as whatever they agreed to the president is concerned? Don't forget, David Briggs has told us what happened in that meeting. We all know what happened in that meeting. And we all know what they made the governor of Rivers State to agree to and to sign. And one of those things was that that case should be withdrawn. And that case was withdrawn. And he lost his position as speaker and now became the chief of staff. So it's not the fault of the remaining 3 or 4 constituents that are represented. It's not their fault. So because 27 or whatever people now worked out on their constituents and INEC refused to conduct an election so that they can have representation, does that now mean that the people whose representatives are still members should also lose out? Why should they lose out? What do they mean by quorum? A quorum is made up of the number, the original number at any given time. But at the time they left, The original, the total number was 4 or 5. And so if there are 4 people out of 5 or 3 people out of 5, it's a quorum. What are they talking about? And then you see the judiciary now standing on his head naked, standing on his head naked. The woman was blindfolded. She has a sword in one hand and she has a scale in one hand, so that she can't see, so she can only hear. And that's the only way you can be fair. So when you strike, whichever way you strike, that is it. Now, the judiciary today, not all of them, some of them, as I'm seeing them today, they're standing naked on their head. They are justifying political illegalities. They are justifying lies, but daylight lies. How can you say that you didn't defect? And as a matter of fact, that when you were seen waving flag, that is somebody put your head on another person's body. Do they know that these things can be measured scientifically? Do they know that it can be measured to the sole of their shoes and know that it is them that was waving that flag? Are they talking to fools? Because they are fools, do they think everybody is a fool? So the truth of the matter is that Rivers State needs peace. And we will continue to call on the president until he says, don't call on me. Because the president cannot pretend that he has no interest. But the president has an interest in what's going on in Rivers State. He can't tell me he doesn't. Because the only way he can convince me that he doesn't is to make sure that he stops. How does he make sure? He has to make sure that the people who have left remain left. Let them stay in his party. He says there is children. Let them stay there. Let INEC conduct an election. If they want, let them come and let their APC give them a ticket. They are all APC people. How many of them? They can run in all the local governments. Their number qualifies them. They can let them run. If the people of the local government vote them in, let them come and sit down and impeach Fubara if they have the quorum. And let us see if Rivers people will allow them. But until such a time, the president should be seen and heard to be doing the right thing, not pretending to be doing the right thing. No. Just saying there should be peace in Rivers State, that doesn't bring peace. That doesn't bring peace in Rivers State. We're not at peace. What's happening in Rivers State is totally unacceptable. When the president was the governor of Lagos State, Obasanjo did not do to him what is being done to Fubara today as he is the president. And look at how he fought Obasanjo. He fought Obasanjo hands down. Eventually, all his money was paid to him. And he got everything that he wanted. It's the same voting. It's the same way he got to be governor that Fubara got to be governor. It's the same way he got to be president that Fubara got to be president. There is no difference between him and Fubara. The only difference is that he is president of Nigeria. Fubara is governor of Rivers State, if you like, president of Rivers State. The president, Tinubu, knows what is going on in Rivers State. He has an interest. He's a politician. He has an interest in Rivers State. Not only does he have an interest in Rivers State, he has an interest in all the 4 oil major producing states in Niger Delta. Now, some of us also read the international papers and follow the ups and downs of the oil and follow what is happening in the world and know that if Israel bombs the oil fields of Syria or Tehran, or if they can't produce oil, the price of oil will go up, and that Nigeria will need a higher output and all those type of things. And we're hearing things like, oh, there is oil theft and stuff like that. There is no oil theft. They know what is going on. But what is going on, I don't call it oil theft. They know exactly what is going on. So Rivers State is a key player when it comes to oil and gas. And anybody who is interested in the resources of rivers that is coming from Rivers State and Niger Delta should be primarily interested in the peace and calm of Rivers State and the Niger Delta. And there are all they all know the key players. I too am a key player in the Niger Delta. I've been speaking for my people for the past 26 years. I have experience. I know what is good for my people and what is not good for my people, and I will continue to speak. President Tinubu should know that it is easier for him to work with the things, the people of the place of the things that he's interested in. It is easier for him to work with us. That includes the governors. That includes the people. You see, it's very difficult for a group of people to, moving forward, own the whole resources of the Niger Delta. If I keep quiet, somebody else will not keep quiet. If I keep quiet, my children may not keep quiet. Their children may not keep quiet. A lot is going on in the world, and it's as a result of what has happened before. There is a scenario playing out, I wouldn't mention it. There is a scenario playing out. And that scenario that is playing out has been going on since 1948. But today, the reaction of you don't do is what is playing out in 2024. So, the president, please, Mr. President, do not let anybody tell you, pretend you don't know what is happening in Rivers State or Niger Delta, or don't say these Niger Delta people, they will kill themselves, they will do this, you will still get what you want. It's a lie. There are people that are emerging, that has emerged, that things like they happened before are not going to happen in 2027. They won't happen in 2027.
Kano State High Court has directed the State Independent Electoral Commission to proceed with the conduct of the local government elections scheduled for Saturday, contrary to the ruling of a federal high court that stopped the elections from holding. Now let's bring in a lawyer and Arise analyst, Frank Tete. Good to have you on News Night tonight. So here we are again, courts of coordinate jurisdiction giving conflicting judgments on, in this case, the Kano local government elections. While the State High Court says, go ahead, any attempt to obstruct it will be, null and void. And the Federal High Court says, no, you don't go ahead. I mean...
I think we've been quite kind to the judiciary when we keep looking at these issues, keep coming up and appearing to be sounding like broken record. I think it's time to actually call out the judiciary directly as being, in this case, the author of confusion. Now, politicians will always be who they are. In the quest for control of political power, they're bound to carry on some form of excesses and all that. And then the role of the judiciary is actually to ensure that their conflicts and all sort of confusion are resolved. But in this case, we have seen too many times as news analysts, as news watchers, and then as even participants in the whole process, realizing that it's this issue of judicial misadventure is becoming unbearable. And so in this particular case, we can't imagine that democracy as we have it as we presently practiced in the last, decade, has actually been bedeviled by these forms of uncertainties flowing from the judiciary. This case being in point, and to think that this is often what we deprecate all the time. That they, and I must commend Ariwola, because he did make attempts in his twilight in office when he set up a committee to be headed by former Chief Justice of Nigeria, Walter Onoke, to bring up models on how to avoid these forms of conflicting judgments. Yeah. It's unfortunate that nothing came out from that committee. I didn't hear it was dissolved, but I also didn't hear that it came out with any form of work. What you must appreciate is that these are constitutional issues. Constitutional in the sense that once any court makes an order, it must be enforced by any person, any authority or person in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And I'm speaking specifically to Section 287 of the Constitution. In that case, why would you know that there is a subsisting court order on a subject matter, however wrong it is, then you go and make a direct conflicting order to that particular judgment or order? It's just an invitation to confusion. But we must not forget one personality, and I've attempted to actually bring him up. And I'm not talking about the Attorney General of the Federation. He is not he may be a minister of government. He doesn't have to be a minister of justice, but he is Attorney General of the Federation, the chief law officer. That's how the Supreme Court describes him. So there are times, oftentimes like this, that personality should come and say, this is what the law is, and this is what we should enforce, and this is what we should not enforce. We can't keep subjecting our judiciary to this mockery by these persons who operate as judges with all sorts of ulterior motives, and who can often be compromised by either pressure or one thing or the other.
Well, is there any form of legality? Because I think you've just brought up something that a lot of people haven't thought of. The chief legal officer superintends, but his comment on this, how forceful will that be, knowing full well that we're talking about a court's judgment?
Look, I think we have underutilized and underestimated the powers of the personality of the Attorney General of the Federation. Because we're talking about a chief law officer. Those are not my words. Those are the words of the Constitution. Meaning that instead of subjecting judicial decisions and determinations to debates and often news analysis, as we often do here, the personality of the Attorney General oftentimes should be the one pointing out that this is what the law is at every material time in this country. And if there is any conflict to what he's saying, go to court. And when the court has so said, he has a mandate in pursuant to Section 287, and particularly to his massive powers under Section 150 and 174, to not say this is the direction. And look, I haven't seen the Attorney General make such kind of direct and strong pronouncement or taking positions, whether in Kano State or in River State crisis, whether it has to do with the members of the House of Assembly, or even in the case of Kano with regards to the who should be the proper emir in Kano. Right. Now, don't forget that he's not the Attorney General of APC. He's not the Attorney General of Nigeria as we speak. He's the Attorney General of the Federation, which means every matter of law, whether it has to do with a local government that has assumed some measure of national interest, should be of much importance to him, that he cannot turn a blind eye to. This is a good example of where judges have not disregarded the sanctity of the powers that they exercise. In this case, from Kano, which is becoming very, very embarrassing.
We have a new Chief Justice, CJN, who in her inaugural speech actually pointed out that some of these excesses will be, zero tolerated. Does she have any role here? What should the CJN be doing right now to ensure that, these excesses are checked? And you have talked about reforms, the need for judicial reforms. Where do we need to start these reforms from?
These problems are not new.
Right.
And the current Chief Justice of Nigeria has been part of the system, has been a Justice of the Supreme Court, and actually well versed and very much acquainted with these problems. One thing I'll talk about underestimating the powers of the Attorney General. We should not overestimate the powers of the Chief Justice of Nigeria, because she is just one person, exercising judicial powers, even though she heads many judicial agencies and bodies that can actually make impact. But these are constitutional issues. Right. For us to make any lasting and fundamental judicial reforms, it has to come from the National Assembly. Imagine when we deal with cases cases that have to do with delays, undue delays that actually have denied and defeated justice in this country. The National Assembly only needs to make up its mind in its area of interest, that is, it has to do with political cases, and it simply set limits. So the average Nigerian I hate to say this, has lost a large measure of confidence in Nigerian judiciary. And for us to restore that confidence, it has to come from actually, law reform first. We have to have some amendment. You have to amend the constitution. For example, look at section 194 of the constitution. 294 of the constitution, which mandates the judges to write in longhand. In terms of giving reasons for, in the way they present their judgment. That is a clog in itself. It causes some forms of delay. And then look at the chicaneries and the political process, because it's about politics, law, and justice. The political processes and the cheap, tactics that have been adopted by either senior lawyers or scrupulous lawyers to delay cases. So we are very much aware of all the problems. However, it is that strength of resolve on the part of those who really govern the system, particularly the National Assembly, the Senate President, and the Speaker of the House of Representatives, going after, having a coalition with other speakers and with governors to say, look, we can have a better system. The way they did it for themselves with regards to electoral matters, they can do it in other issues too. It's a matter of constitutional amendments.
Sadly, let's talk about political influence, because everyone you've just named somehow the members of a political party, and what we smell here seem to be some kind of political influence leading up to such conflicting judgments or orders. How best do you think that these reforms can actually be activated without these political actors also interfering?
Because they are beneficiaries of the current dysfunctionality that we have in this country, it's going to be very difficult for us to have the reforms. These reforms that we're calling for have been called for more than 10 years ago. They've been professors, and we have National Judicial Institute and conferences all over the world, all over this country, being held by the foreign, supported conferences and all sort of interventions. They know the right thing to do, but those who benefit from it are the ones who actually have the responsibility of doing it, and they don't want to do it. They did it for themselves with regards to giving time limits for election cases, but the same way they can do it with regards to giving the sense of confidence, a sense of the judicial system that is ready to actually provide justice for the Nigerian people. As we speak now, the judiciary has a problem, and our country is headed for a very terrible direction. And I hate to say it, because the goal of the judiciary is nothing else but to resolve conflicts, because they are bound to come, because you have a lot of rascals who run in the political terrain. It is the responsibility of the judges in this cause to now railroad them on the path of law, legality, and democracy. But when you now see those who are supposed to guard the system, because they are there quiet, they are there, there is no judge in these matters, whether in Kano, River State, or elsewhere, that has less than 20 years experience of the practice of law. Now, to think that these persons will now apply their knowledge of law to subverting the system, then you must realize that we are faced with a political emergency. Now, right. It's a very serious matter, but what it calls for is some truths, especially on the part of the president, on the part of the CJN, on the part of Akpabio and the speaker, to say, look, please, we can save this system, we can save this democracy. Absolutely. Let us try a bit. But if we continue like this, I'm afraid we might just have some form of implosion.
It looks like what you're saying is, as far as the judiciary is concerned, the beautiful ones are not yet born.
Unfortunately so.
We'll have to leave it there.
When we received the intelligence that the Wike group have perfected arrangements to use the Federal High Court to seize the statutory sovereign constitutional revenue of the people of Rivers State and starve everybody in Rivers today, many did not believe. And that they are going to ensure that the matter is heard and concluded today and judgment delivered. Today, everybody have seen it. The judge came into the court. Everything she refused kept on running inside her chamber and out. That everything must be heard and decided today. In minutes, they were happening. If you go by the provision of the Federal High Court rules and the Constitution, everybody has the right of reply. Even in a matter that was filed and served to people inside the court, the lawyers, the judge refused them to even file their own reply. Even if you wanted accelerated hearing, you could have given them 1 day, 2 days, or even allowed them 2-3 hours. But you say you don't want to listen to them, and you went into hearing, And when you people do all these things, you want those judgments to be respected. But the process, the procedure is manifestly shown to be biased. Petitions have been written against her to recuse herself, going by past, judgments and ruling they have been doing at the Federal High Court for Wike Group. Things that have shown high level of judicial strangeness. Nigerians are watching. This is the People's Federal High Court. It's not a private property of anybody. Judges will come and go. But it's an institution that the people must have solace and comfort and confidence inside. It's not about judgment. It's about the confidence and the belief that justice has been done. Those pronouncements must go to the heartbeat of the quest for justice, which is what the court is all about. Applications from political matters, expert application, almost over 32 in federal high court, and assigned to the same specific people. Even when matters are before other judges, they go and remove it and give to these particular people. Is this what Justice Soho wants to be remembered for? Are we going to now elevate building of houses for judges more than the issue of justice? And I want lawyers, especially MBA in Port Harcourt and Abuja, you done too, you have a right. Your institution is under attack. These things are things that lead to lack of confidence. We can't, because of one man's desperate interest, reduce institutions our forefathers gave to us. For what? You want to seize the statutory revenue of an arm of government. The other day they burnt some arm of government. Nothing has happened up to today. IG have not done anything. President have not condemned it. Now the next one is that you want to seize the statutory revenue of an arm of government so they can throw that state into anarchy and burn it to the ground. And you want Rivers people to clap for you, and you want Nigerians to clap for you. And in order to do it, you drag in our court. The other day they said decampment is a pre-election matter. Just to favor one man. I think we all keep quiet as opposition, as Nigerians. And I want lawyers. It's your profession that is under attack. NJC must audit all these rulings and expert applications on Rivers. It's becoming embarrassing. It's becoming embarrassing. I said it 2 years ago that the next plan is to seize those statutory revenue of the state and local government, and you think that can lead to removing Fubara from office. You're suffering innocent Rivers people. It's an arm of government. You can't undermine it. If you have the numbers, if you have the legitimacy, you go for impeachment. You cannot see a revenue that will be used to pay workers, to pay nurses, teachers. I said it 2 years ago that the next plan is to seize those statutory revenue of the state and local government, and you think that can lead to removing Fubara from office. You're suffering innocent Rivers people. It's an arm of government. You can't undermine it. If you have the numbers, if you have the legitimacy, you go for impeachment. You cannot see a revenue that will be used to pay workers, to pay nurses, teachers, that will be used to do road, that will be used to maintain security. What is the primary responsibility of government under Section 14? Protection of lives and property. You want to seize that statutory revenue and make sure that that primary constitutional function is not going to be carried out. Or you want to use an order of court to stop it. That cannot stop the functions of the Constitution. Doesn't matter what you do. Those revenue are sovereign, they are constitutional. It is not Fubara's revenue. It's a revenue with which a teacher will be paid after working for 2 months or 1 month. It's the revenue doctors will be used to pay for. It's the revenue that will get books for students in hospital, in schools. It's the money from which the state will provide medicine and medical equipment for hospital. These are statutory payments. Federal High Court wants to seize it, so teachers will not receive salary, workers will not be paid. What is their own offense? So you think by doing that, that will help Wike and their group to take Rivers back? It's not for Fubara's revenue. The people will rise when you do that. It's against public interest. You can't do that, you don't have that power. Because the constitutional revenue will work on cutting all this madness left, right, and center. Because one man thinks that democracy and the people of Rivers State are in his pocket. So he wants to retrieve his property. As who? As who? And we have to bring down our judicial institutions, our security institutions. You say you're from Rivers, but you want to burn down Rivers. Local government headquarters have been burnt and bombed. People have been killed. Now you are aiming, because Rivers State have not died, you now want to seize the statutory revenue of Rivers State, so that the people can start dropping dead on the street because you are chasing Fubara. So teachers will not be paid, workers will not be paid. An election that was constitutional, instead of you going to the tribunal or going to somewhere, you now want the federal government. First, you moved your supporters to APC, so that APC can help you to impeach a governor. When that failed, you said they are back to PDP. People who defected before the very eyes of every Nigerian. But Federal High Court Abuja did not see it. And those cases, John Soho keeps assigning it to those particular judges. And nobody sees anything wrong with all these things. Respect is end. Respect is end. Especially when it has to do with public institutions. It's not your own. Decampment from one political party to another is pre-election matter. Now, as we are coming up from that one, you give another election should not hold. As we are coming up from that one, you now want to give another that the allocation of Rivers people should be seized. Under which law? Was it not the same thing Tinubu and Obasanjo battled for, that went up to Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled against the federal government and released those monies to Lagos State government? We're going to go back to those days again? Because of Wike and his group. So, I have said this before. When we got this intelligence that they were celebrating, that the matter will be heard and concluded. And people went inside court. Application for joinder, rejected immediately. Application for them to reply what was filed against them, rejected. They can't file. Stop for a proceeding, no. Appeal have been transmitted. Court of Appeal is to sit on the matter. And you want to give an order to seize the allocation for a subject matter that is before the appeal court, some are before the Supreme Court. This will not work. And I want to appeal to NJC. We can't continue like this. People have started talking. It's very predictable. It's obvious what is going on. So today, Justice Obehi Abdulmalik Joyce decided to proceed against all known principle and order. Falana and the people basically walked out from the court. Right of reply. No, you can't reply. Join the door, you can't join. I must hear it today and finish it. What are you running for? Where are you going to? Matter have been transmitted to appeal court. So when people do these things that are manifestly wrong, we seek for obedience to them. Like a man coming into your house with a court order to rape your mother. At this, he will succeed. There are certain things that we should not. Because of one man, the people of Rivers is going to resist this when anybody does it. I can tell you that. Because it is a constitutional revenue. So what will happen to the teacher? What will happen to the worker? What will happen to security of that state? The bombing of the local government headquarters is not enough. The crisis, the killings is not enough. Now to start the entire state, let me see how this will happen again. This anarchy people are looking for, they will get it. They will get it. But those who live in Glasshouse should not throw stone. These are the crises of the 60s and the 80s. Federal institutions interfering in this constitutional process, other left, right, and center, security agencies, going outside their jobs and so on and so forth, just to please those in Abuja. Without those in Abuja, know that those who are doing it are those who are fighting for their political relevance in their state, from Kano to Rivers to every part of the country. When it boomerangs, it is those who are keeping quiet today that will suffer it more. Then you need the support of citizens. The same citizens that are watching what you are doing now. So I want to call on the NJC and the Supreme Court not to wait until petitions have been written up till now, and these judges has continued to sit on this matter despite their manifest bias on issues that has to do with Rivers. Even matters that are supposed to be heard by Rivers State High Court, or matters that are supposed to be in Federal High Court Rivers, they transfer all of them to Federal High Court, where there are 4 individuals who have been stationed to hear only pro-Wike cases, and you can predict them. They file before 30 minutes there's an ex-parte. Even when there's a rule of political ex-parte, they don't want anybody to be heard. This has to stop. This has to stop. These lawmakers have left their political party. Everybody saw it. Constitution is very clear. It's a constitutional provision, it's automatic. But somebody wants to use the judiciary to give them legitimacy to continue to cause nuisance. What are we fighting over? That we should allow you, that those who have decamped and lost their seat should come and impeach the governor? That's why we are running around this circle. Come and do it and let us see. Get everything you want, but come and let's see how it will work. We will end up destroying everything that we didn't build. This is what these anarchies and crisis people are pushing will lead to. And that's why we're saying it's time to apply bread. Let the judiciary stand firm and do the right thing. It does not matter who is in way. It does not matter whether the person is building houses for you. Our institution must be sacred and protected. And this is the time to protect it. Or else you will make it obvious before Nigerians that there is no institution.
One day, and at last, causing chaos with their conflicted judgments. Again, the judiciary has been fingered out as the arm of government causing chaos in Rivers State. Over time, the judiciary has been serving as an instrument, a weapon being used by some sects of political power holders to cause chaos and anarchy by comparing them to give judgments that are unrealistic, judgment that even someone without legal background we know clearly that this is an abracadabra kind of judgment. The judiciary has been accused of being used as a tool to destabilize Rivers State government, talking about Governor Fubara. It is no longer news that Fubara, the Minister of FCT, has been slotting in out for quite some time now. Just after the concluded local government election, a fresh legal works has begun that is asking the federal government not to release local government funds to the state, simply because they feel that the election was conducted vacillating some political powers. Recall that it was a tussle of power over the corner of that local government pool.